How are you today? I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing exceedingly well. I had just recently, somebody friended me on Facebook and asked me, she said that she had just finished, or excuse me, just missed the Right to Publish conference up in the Chicago area and wondered if there was another conference later this year that I might suggest to her. Well, yes, there is. But first, I thought we'd dig just a little bit deeper instead of talking about specifically conferences, but rather talk about how to choose the conference that best fits you. So today we are talking about, this is episode number 67, 5 questions to ask about upcoming writers and speakers conferences. Hi, I'm Patricia Durgan, the Christian Message Coach, and this is Marketers on a Mission, the live show to help writers and speakers further develop their online marketing skills. So let's get into it, shall we? So, writers and speakers conferences can be any time of the year, but most of them are in the spring or the fall. And there's a few in the winter, early, late, early, and then a few in the deep heart of the summer. But typically they're in the fall and the spring and the fall, which is just a point of interest. It makes nothing whatsoever unless it matters to you and your schedule. Let's talk about the very first. We're talking about flavor, 5 F's. Flavor, finances, focus, faculty, and the future. Those are the 5 F's, the 5 questions that we want to ask as we are considering and praying about, maybe even perhaps planning to attend a conference, whether it's the rest of this year, sometime later this year, or next year. It's never, say it with me, it's never too early to begin thinking and praying about a writer's conference or a speaker's conference. Excuse me. And why do I say that? Because it takes time to become prepared for them. You can show up on the door the day of the conference when it starts, and you can go empty-handed with no work to show. And if that's what the Lord wants you to do, then absolutely go do that and know that that is His best plan for you. But typically, it takes time to prepare for research, which conference to go to, which person to talk to, make an appointment with, how much it's going to cost, budget that expense into your yearly budget. So today, this very moment, let's talk about the flavor first. There's lots of elements, and you can find out most of this is common sense. The things that we're not going to talk about are common sense that you would definitely review and do your due diligence before any major purchase. We're going to talk about the things that wouldn't fall under that umbrella, okay? The very first thing that you want to look at is the flavor of the conference, the atmosphere, the environment in which the conference is going to be held. Is it going to be in a big city surrounded by concrete and asphalt, or is it going to be in a cozy country retreat? And neither is better or worse. You know which environment best suits you. I prefer to have something that has some beautiful scenery that I can wander and think and ponder and pray about what I've just learned, or the person that I've just served in a casual conversation, stranger to stranger, the next thing you know, in 5 minutes you're friends. Or the faculty member that I just had an appointment with and what he or she said. We need time to absorb that and let it sink into our soul, don't we, when we go to a conference? So I like those environments a little bit better, but I don't have any problems going to a city-based conference, because once you get into it, the environment itself, typically they're held in colleges, not always, sometimes they're held in churches, but typically in Christian colleges on their campuses. Excuse me. So whichever environment, whether it's a church or a college, a Christian college, or some other similar environment, you can be assured that whether it's in the big city surrounded by other buildings, other concrete structures on the ground and in the air, if the Holy Spirit's there, it's just going to work, isn't it? It's just going to work. So it's something to consider, but it's not a game changer, right? So another thing to consider is travel. Do you travel well? Is it easy for you to work out a travel arrangement in your schedule to have X number of days off? There are writers' conferences that are 1 day, 2 days. The big ones, the bigger they get, the longer they last, 4 to 6 days. Don't let that alarm you, because you don't have to purchase a ticket, so you don't have to register the entire time. If you just can't make it for 6 days, but you really want to be able to talk to that particular faculty member, then almost all Christian writers and Christian speakers conferences allow you just to purchase a day's ticket or 2 days, according to what their parameters are. So it's something, again, it's something to consider, but it's not a deal breaker. But we do want to make sure that we're thinking ahead and thinking wisely, because a writers' conference, like any other investment or a speakers' conference, includes more costs than the cost of the conference. Duh. So we've got, maybe you just drive across the street. Would it be so? Just drive across the street and there are all your friends, 5,000 of your closest friends, and you just have a hootenanny and a grand old time. And may it be so, but it's unlikely. So let's just assume that that's not going to be the scenario you've got that you're working with. Okay. Can you afford to either get in your car and travel, or fly, or wagon train, or whatever your preferred method of transportation is? There are extra costs in that. There's costs for a rental car if you fly. Most of the time, you might get a taxi, and you might ride with somebody, and even stay in a friend's house. And those are the ones that are really sweet, where you can tie in a visit to a family member or a friend, excuse me, along with free housing, so that you're getting the best of both worlds. You're seeing somebody that maybe you haven't seen in a long time, and you're getting free room and board, and maybe meals too. And then you still get to go to the conference for a smaller fee. That's always sweet. But there are, like anything else, there are extra costs attached just to getting to and from the conference. So we need to take that into account. So again, we can do a full conference or a partial conference, or only 1 or 2 days, depending upon each particular conference's director and their board, how they have set up all of the guidelines. But these are all important questions to ask, right? What kind of environment? Can you afford it? The conference itself? Can you afford to travel to and from the conference? These are all important questions, and because Christ wants us to be good stewards, but they're not the most important questions to ask. No. There are more important questions to ask, and this is one of them. Does God want you to attend a conference? And if we reword that a little bit, let's make it a more thorough, all-embracing question. Does God want you to get the professional training and make the personal and professional contacts that are possible at every conference? Is He ready for your writing or your speaking to go to the next level? And you do not know that unless He's already previously mentioned that to you in your prayer time. That's something you have to ask Him, and He is more than willing to share the information, right? If He does want you to go to a conference, does He want you to attend one later this year? Because there's still conferences ongoing, the balance of the year. As it gets closer to winter, they do fade away because of obvious reasons. But next month there's 2 or 3, and then there's some in August, some in September. So does He want you to attend a conference this year? You really need to scramble, and you could do it if He wanted you to, but you'd really need to scramble to get your research done and get your finances in order and decide which faculty members that you want to speak to, and on and on and on, including, hopefully, having some content to show. Might be a 1-page synopsis of your book idea, might be the full manuscript. Lots of different choices. There may be articles that you are bringing, devotion samples that you're bringing, but there's work to be done to prepare for a writer's conference or a speaker's conference. Does He want you, if He does want you to go to one, does He want you to go to one later this year or next year? Something to consider. Here's some pre-registration questions. Now, you're going to want to know about meals and lodging and, conference calls, costs, and all that. We're just going to bypass that because I know you're going to take care of that, all right? Let's talk about 2 different things that you may not yet have thought about, especially, especially if you have not yet attended a conference or it's been a long time. So 2 reminders. Does the conference that you're considering, or if you've got 2 or 3, you're weighing the options there, do they have scholarships available? You would be surprised how many Christian writers and Christian speakers conferences have scholarships available, but they are not available the day before the conference begins. They are taken care of, they are dispersed well in advance of the conference beginning. So you've got to get yourself together. This is a biggie because scholarships are gifted well in advance. You don't want to miss one. You don't want to miss the opportunity to go to a conference because you waited too long to apply for the scholarship. And simply applying for a scholarship does not mean that you'll get one, but of course, your chances are a lot better if you actually apply for one, right? And the gist of the conferences, the heart of a Christian writers conference or a Christian speakers conference, is to help people bring people in so they can begin this wonderful journey of spreading the good news. So people want to help you, but there are a limited number of scholarships. They're all across the board. Some are a complete scholarship. Some is just the conference itself and no transportation is included. You cover that yourself. Others are a portion of the conference fee. Look at the conferences that you're considering, and after we get finished with this episode, I'm going to upload a few links for some of the really important conferences that are coming up just in the next couple 3 months to give you some ideas in case you do want to make a move on that. But I will consistently inform you about conferences for Christian writers and Christian speakers, because don't let anybody push you into anything or make you feel like you're not measuring up if you're unable to attend one for any reason. But at the same time, don't let the enemy or naysayers or even your bank account determine if you're going to go to a conference. If Christ wants you to attend, he accepts the burden of making it possible for you to attend. And sometimes we just walk forward in faith, and at the last minute, he supplies a train ticket, an airplane ride, enough money to get across the country in your car, a conference, partial or full conference gift from somebody at church who believes in you and believes in your work. So let him do the God part, and you do the part that only you can do. So do they have scholarships available is one of the concerns that are sort of behind the scenes that are not usually thought of well in advance. I'm not talking about a day or a month. I'm talking about several months in advance. See if they have a scholarship that's applicable. And if you can apply for it, what are the constructs of that? And do they have a Facebook group? Now, when I started going to Christian Writers Conferences, I don't know, 14, 15, 16 years ago, Facebook wasn't around, but it is now, for better or worse. It's part of our lives, part of the tapestry of the world. Not every conference has a Facebook group, and they're not obligated to have one, but it is a benefit if they do. That way you can learn so much more about the conference and the other people who have already attended, other faculty. You can look at past conversations and get a feel for, is this fit my style? Am I going to be comfortable in this environment? And Christ, let's just make a caveat here. Christ doesn't always want us to be comfortable. Sometimes he wants us to get out of our comfort zone. So just throwing that out there. Most don't give you, if they do have a Facebook group, most of them don't give you access to it till it's registered. So the sooner you register, the sooner you can join the group, if they have one. And they will let you know on their website. So let's go to focus. Do they cover only certain genres? Maybe they only do fiction, or they only do nonfiction. Maybe they are specifically about Christian romance or speculative fiction. Maybe they are some other genre that maybe article writing. There are conferences out there that are specifically about article writing or devotional development versus a very broad spectrum. And every Christian Writers Conference director makes that choice. They have typically have a board that they make that decision with, and that was established long ago. That's one of the first things that's established as the original decisions, founding decisions are made. Let me see if we have any comments or questions really quick. Don't see any. But let's just check. Do not see any. But, as always, if you have a question or a comment, whether we're live or you're watching the replay, please do and type it into the comments. I'll be glad to help you later if that's necessary. Do they offer, another question is, do they offer one-on-one appointments with faculty members? And if they do, how many do they offer? Almost all conferences do offer this. This is a real privilege. But some of them are not big enough to offer that, or they have just chosen not to offer that. But I'm not going to get into what it's like, but I'm going to give you just a real, in depth. I'm going to give you a quick overview. So for the conferences that include one-on-one appointments, 15 minutes usually appointments with faculty members, there's a process to sign up before you attend, before you even arrive or after you've arrived. You go and meet them at your appointed time. You show them your work, or you pitch your book idea, or you give them information about you and, what are you thinking? How are you laying out your message or your ministry or platform, and get feedback from someone who has been in the field, who's a professional making their living in the writing field or the speaking field or both for years and usually decades. A lot of times this is not a flighty field. This is something people come into the field and they stay for year after year after year after year. So to have the ear, to have personal one-on-one access to such a person with the context that person has, with the knowledge that person has, and if they're interested in your idea, or if they give you suggestions to further refine what you're saying to them, then you've gotten so much further down the road. That could streamline your entire publication process, much different than consistently sending out, a blind copy of your work and getting it back, if you're lucky enough to get it back, with lots of no's, just blindly sending them out. This is one of the benefits, the real measurable benefits of Christian Writers or Speakers Conference. And then, do they allow their work, in addition to the one-on-one appointments, do they allow you to submit work pre-conference to be critiqued before the conference, so that during that 15-minute appointment or another one, then you can get real feedback, line-by-line edits and so forth. So these are two different kinds of appointments, potentially. Typically they are. One is a free 15-minute appointment, one-on-one with the faculty. You pitch your book idea, you give them information about what you're doing, you show them your platform and ask them, pertinent questions to build it further, any number of different things. You control that conversation because they're there to serve you for those 15 minutes and give you access to all they know. All right, so then the second is a critique, usually they're paid critiques, and this is where you submit work ahead of time, and there's always a limit because they can only do so many. They're still, the conference faculty members, they're still doing their daily work, going to the office, serving their family and so forth, all pre-conference. So they're working in serving you, and the critique fee is nominal. I mean, it's just ridiculously low because they want to find new authors who have something exciting to say. So it's worth their time. They're investing time to give you a critique, and you pay a nominal fee. It might be $25, might be $50. You pay that ahead of time. The whole process is outlined on the conference website, if they offer that, and most of them do. So do they allow that, and do you want to participate in that if they do? Let's see what else we've got. Faculty, here we go, faculty. This is the key, one of the big keys, the big kahuna, the big kahuna keys. If you don't know any of the faculty members for any specific conference, then simply do your research. You want to find out what each faculty member is looking for. And not all, but a lot of the conference websites will give you that insight. There's a list on a special page, and it'll say, Billy Bob is the editor of XYZ magazine, and he is looking for specifically these types of articles. And then if there's something that he really doesn't want, if he gives the information to the conference director, so if he gives the director the information, it will also say, I'm not interested in Christian romance or poetry. Could be any number of different things. It's based upon the individual faculty member. But that information could be, might be listed on the conference's website. You have to dig around and look at these. Lots and lots of pages of information on a conference website. Even if it's dormant, if it's just closed down, you can still get a feel for what they offer and how thorough they are and how they present the information to you and explain the process to you. All of those are clues really important clues as to whether you want to start moving and praying toward that conference or another one. How approachable does the faculty member seem? And if you don't know them, if you've never been to that conference or you've never been to a conference and you don't know anybody, then you just have to get the normal human clues. Do they seem, they have a website, and what does it seem like? What's their tone? How do they communicate on their website? Do they have social media posts? Are they really negative? Are they really positive? Are they flighty and bubbly and enthusiastic? Or are they very somber and serious and, down to earth and all in between? And there's a person for you. There is a person for you. If Christ wants you to go to that or any other conference, there will be at least one, if not multiple, faculty members that really get your dream. They really get your vision, and they want to help you fulfill that. It's a wondrous, wondrous thing. Some conferences, we've covered that already. All right. Here's another one. It's really important. It doesn't seem important at first glance, but it's really important. Does the conference that you're considering allow you to eat meals with the faculty members? Now, I don't mean are you in the cafeteria at the same time they're in the cafeteria. I'm talking about, do they host a table in the eating space? And that means, do they have a designated table, that faculty member versus that faculty member, dollop here and there and yonder, so that they're spread out. Each faculty member has their own table, and anybody can sit there, but the faculty member is the one that usually directs the conversation. It varies, and it trails off, and we get side conversations going because that's who we are, and that's okay. But they begin the conversation. They go around the table. What do you write about? Mary, and then Mary answers them, and you get another chance to have an informal conversation in front of other people who can then, and not only the agent or the editor or the faculty member might be already established, long published author himself or herself, but you can get interaction and feedback from the other members of the group too. So it's a really great time to get to know everybody at the table if that's your style. But one note to squeeze in here really quickly, and that is, you want to, if you're an introvert, you want to pray ahead of time that you will not be stymied by your introverted tendencies. Ask the Lord to supernaturally help you, spur you, to have people ask you specific questions that really trigger your interest, and you really are passionate about that. But whatever methodology he uses and you use, you don't want to pay and go to a conference and invest all the time to prepare and have hopes sky high and never speak. You don't have to push your way through the crowd. You don't have to be rude or obnoxious. But Christ will give you opportunities to engage. Take those opportunities, please. For your sake, yes, but also for your audience's sake. They're waiting for you. They're waiting for your message. They're waiting for someone with just your personality, someone with just your integrity level, just your characteristics. They're waiting for you. Don't think about yourself. If you're introverted or in some other way you're uncomfortable speaking out, try your best. Pray ahead of time. Ask the Lord to help you. Think of the people who will receive your message more than, at that very moment, think more of that group of people than your own feelings of inadequacy or need to be quiet or laid very low. Because once you go home, the opportunities are going to cease until the next conference for that particular dynamic. Step forward in faith. Be bold for you, your version of bold, and allow the Lord to do a miracle for you and through you and with you, for your sake and for your audience's sake. Conferences are a big investment of time and money, and they are worth it. And if you don't have a single penny to your name and God wants you to go to a conference, he will supply the funds for you to go. My husband David and I, we've paid for my attendance through out of our regular home account. Many times we have been gifted. Once we were gifted with 85% of the costs to attend a conference. Sometimes we are given opportunities I am given opportunities to present a workshop or one or more workshops, or do something else that I get just a little bit, a little bit of income to defray the cost of the conference itself. But there's no other way to meet these people unless you live next door to a whole bunch of these people, you get around together for coffee on every Thursday night. I'm so bless you. Bless you. Most of us don't have those opportunities. So step forward. Be faithful and step out in faith to the degree that you and God have decided. Where is that line? Here's a line. On this side of the line is faith. On that side of the line is foolishness. Only you and He know the answer to that question. But don't let a lack of funds today keep you from researching and preparing for a conference in a month or in a year or in 2 years. Again, you do your part and let Him do His. He's really, really good at doing His part. This has been Marketers on a Mission, episode number 66. I'm not sure that's right. It might be 67. Whatever it is. How to pre-plan. Oh, heavens. Excuse me just a second. Yes, it is 67. 5 questions. I'm going to get my notes here. 5 questions to ask about upcoming conferences, Christian Writers Conferences, for this year and next year, and speakers conferences as well. I haven't decided what we're going to do tomorrow. I had a couple of different ideas, and I like both of them equally. So I'm going to delay the sneak peek that I usually give you every day till tomorrow. I'll be right here. I hope that you join me at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'm Patricia Durkin, the Christian Message Coach, and I pray that this show helps you spread the good news online. I do see that there are a couple of comments, so let me check those super quickly if I can get to them. Hello, Bob. Thank you for the compliment. Hey, Janice, I didn't know that you were going to be able to join us. Catherine, busy writing, and the notification of you going live didn't beep. Oh, that's all right, sweet friend. That is all right. We're available on the replay. I appreciate each one of you being here, and everyone who watches the replays. It's typically 85 or 90% of the people who see a Facebook Live see it on a replay. That is working in their schedule instead of joining live, so you're always welcome. And to comment as well, not just to watch it on the replay, but to comment if you'd like to do that. I love serving you. I pray that what I do and say for God's sake is helpful to you. Have a good afternoon. I'll see you tomorrow.